Welcome to Plastered by Simpson. Today is episode 6, and we're just hanging out today. It's just us two.
And we're back. So today it's just Griffin and I having open mics, talking about the things that are on our mind, construction, working together, how that works, how it doesn't work, and different parts and pieces.
Yeah.
So it's kind of up to us just to talk about what we're interested in and what we got going on. And I would start with you being the fourth generation coming in, me being the third generation. Is it what you thought it would be?
That's a tough question because I feel like the way that we're set up, it doesn't feel like a fourth generation to me. It feels more like a second generation, just in the way that I've been brought into Simpson and the way that kind of, I guess, you raised me up in the business.
Meaning you never worked for your great grandfather or
Yeah.
your grandfather. You only worked
Right.
for me.
I've only worked for you, and yes.
Right, so you don't, yeah.
I guess some of the negative tags that could come from a fourth generation,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel them.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about this a little bit before in other episodes, which is, to me, the tag you're talking about is entitlement.
Yeah.
How do you bring in somebody and them not be entitled and them work hard and be a part of the organization? I mean, that to me is the
Right.
hard part
Yeah.
about, as the owner, how do you bring your kid in?
Mhm.
And I said this last time, which was, you know, you're going to be one of two kids. You're going to be the owner's son or the owner's son. The owner's son that's chip off the old block, that comes in early, leaves late, gets everything done, and is part of leadership.
Mhm.
Or the guy that comes in at 9, goes home at 3,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and is the owner's son. And as the owner, I don't think owners ever know what they got.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that second half, the one that comes in at 9 and leaves at 3, is the reason for that crazy statistic of a fourth generation business is only 3% successful.
Yeah, it might be less than that. Even third generation is really, I mean, the statistics are not on our side.
Yeah. The last time I looked it up, it was, like, less than 5% just 'cause it's way less than 5%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's tiny. So the hard part is, how do you come in and separate, A, family emotion from what's going on?
Yeah.
And then B, how do you have the rest of the company accept your role and what you're doing? And so let's talk about that a little bit and how that has played out over the last 3 years,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I mean, I think the first one, how do you separate family emotion from business emotion? That's pretty almost impossible. I think luckily for us, we're both passionate about it, and so we talked about work even before I even was working here.
Yeah,
And
a
so
little bit.
I think it's kind of intertwined into our family emotions, which is, it's a small business, a family business, and so it just came with it. But I do think we do a good job of leaving, especially tough emotions, at the door when we leave the office and go home. We're able to differentiate between, "Hey, we're having a problem at work, and let's just be family guys now."
Yeah, yeah, able to drop the emotion
Yeah,
and
we're able to
move on.
drop it pretty well, but it's just a tough thing to do.
But work does consume most of our conversation,
Yeah,
right? That is the hard part.
yeah,
And it's the easy part too.
yeah.
Because it's easy for us to sit and chat for a long time because we have so much work to chat about.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's also hard because sometimes you don't get to the rest of life when you need to. Right?
Yeah, and
And that's the hard part at home. But at work, I don't. Maybe we talk about family all the time, but we don't really
Yeah.
intertwine it into work a whole
No,
lot.
I think we definitely have our spiels where we're sitting in each other's offices talking about family, but it doesn't intertwine itself into it.
Yeah, and I actually would almost say I almost enjoy the family part too.
Yeah,
We don't try to necessarily avoid that. We say it is what it is. I mean,
right.
we don't try to act like you're not my son or that we don't talk family at work.
Yeah,
It's all one big ball of wax, and there's no way out of it.
yeah. Which is funny because when I first came to work for you straight out of college, it infuriated me when people were like, "I'm gonna go speak to your dad." I'd be like, "No, call him Richard." You know? Something about, like, trying to get away from that I'm the owner's son that I tried so hard to do the first year, and then I think once I accepted it, it's just it's made it better.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you're certainly not You're not running from it anymore. It's just
Right.
kind of like it is what it is, and all right. So, what? Tell me what you clearly have kind of created your own spot within us. How long do you think it took you to kind of find your sea legs and then to kind of start creating your own role and spot within the team?
I feel like it took a couple of years.
Mm,
I feel like you get your sea legs whenever you gain the respect of the rest of the company for, your work ethic, doing what you say, not being entitled, that kinda stuff, and so I think it took until probably 2 years ago.
mhm.
I've been here 4 years, 5
Yeah,
years.
I think you worked hard, which helps you on the reputation side. I don't think really until you got to move into your own market that you
Yeah,
really kinda got to start finding your place. You
yeah,
know, we had to structurally make a place for you to go work, show your skills, show your effort and all that,
mm,
I think, before you to find your place.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I
I
would
think
say
it took that structural move within the company to get you there.
but I think, yeah, that's true, and that was 2 years ago because up until that, I was kinda just thrown onto projects as the project manager,
Mhm,
and just, like, that's kinda how I was working,
mhm.
so until I could do my own thing, I guess, yeah.
Tell me this, so you've been around long enough to watch me run and
Mhm.
run things,
Yep.
and of course you have Seth here who's, he's my age, and so he kinda runs things similarly.
Yep.
You got Woody who's kind of, a little bit underneath that,
Yep.
um, and then, you have your generation in the office. Alright, so tell me what do you see in your generation that's different than my generation as you go through the business, see it? Specifically, Seth and I are older, and
Yeah.
then you.
I think you and Seth's generation is a lot more relationship built. You guys got work done by having a buddy over to GC. You go over to their office, you take it off with them, you chat about it. And I feel like now with a bunch of this technology, it takes a lot of the relationship out of it. And now I'm getting a bid invite on the computer. I'm taking it off on my computer. I could basically do all my work alone and never talk to anyone and just bid out jobs. And if I'm the low number, I win, you
Yep.
know? So
Yep.
I feel like probably the biggest difference in my brain is the relationship aspect of construction.
It's very true. It's very true. And there are companies that are completely non-relational,
Yeah.
and there are companies that are relational.
Yeah.
So you got to know which one you're dealing with as you deal through them.
Oh, yeah.
That's the general contractor side. What about in general, even in our office? Because we have, a handful of guys that are all under 30
Yeah.
and a handful of guys that are over 30. What do you see there?
I think just specifically within our company, the people under 35 are a lot more work-life balance oriented,
Yeah.
including myself. I mean,
It's funny you say that. It's the exact word that came to mind.
you and Seth and Woody, y'all can work 100 hours a week and do most of the time work 100 hours a week and don't bat an eye at it. And you're proud of the fact that you didn't take a vacation for 10 years and you'll work a Saturday because you got stuff to do. And I feel like a lot of people under the age of 35 would be very upset and quit if they didn't get to take a vacation, call it every 2 years, every 1 year.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
There's a lot more emphasis on your personal life and the fun things you get to do now rather than, hey, you go to work, you grind, and then when you're 40 or 50 and you retire, then you go do all your fun stuff.
Yeah. I think your generation looks at work life balance,
That's a
and we looked at work life.
yeah,
I mean, I had 4 children, Seth had 2 children.
yeah,
We worked and then we did life,
yeah,
and we made the 2 work together. And if that meant you came in at 3 a.m., like Seth does routinely,
mm,
or if that meant you stayed till midnight or 1 a.m., which was kind of what I like to do, especially when I was younger with you guys,
yeah,
we did that. We still met our life obligations and responsibilities, but not at the expense of work.
yeah,
So I feel like we did more of a work and life. Y'all do a work life balance,
yeah, and I feel like
you know.
there's pros and cons to both sides, and
Mhm.
there's a good mix in the middle.
Yeah.
Obviously, you wanna be social and have fun and that kinda stuff with friends and family, but you also can't neglect your work obligations while
Mhm.
doing it. And I don't think that means you gotta work till 1 AM, but, I mean, you gotta pick when you're gonna work till 1 AM.
Yeah. Well, I think it's harder for you guys as well because I think society is set up differently. meaning now you have, 50 events a year for kids. You have, Thanksgiving show, Veterans show, Christmas show.
Yeah.
Some are all legit, some are great, but now dads feel obligated. Everybody run over to these shows. You got donuts with dads, you got field trips, you
Yeah.
got, yeah, it's just
I mean, just
so much
look
stuff.
at getting married from when you got married to when I got married. When you got married, y'all had 1 shower, an engagement party, and the wedding. And now we got bachelor trip that lasts 4 days. You got 6 or 7 showers, 3 or 4 engagement parties, depending on who's throwing them. The wedding, I've we've taken all events and made them multi-event
Mm.
items.
Yeah, life events seem to be
Yeah,
bigger.
life events have gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah. I think it's hard, especially when Seth and I sit back and look, it's changed across the board, not just with our people, with everybody. It's just, it's a different mindset.
Yeah.
And it's different mindset, not just by like, the young generation within our company, it's within all companies. And then even within society around you guys, there's a different expectation, and it's not work and success at work.
Yeah.
It is much more of a generalized
Yeah.
thing. But how does that play into you coming into working at Simpson though? Right? Because you come in as fourth generation,
Yeah.
yada yada yada. How does that play into you
Well,
working?
I think the way that I was brought up by you was a lot more of the hard work mentality than it was the work-life balance.
Hmm.
Just from watching you work growing up, and even just kind of little things of how you raised me, coming in here and the expectation was, "Man, you just gotta grind."
Hmm.
And so I think having the expectation of coming in here and knowing or not thinking about work-life balance, just thinking about grinding to build my career, what it really helped put me aside or make me different than all other 4th generation kids.
Hmm.
And so I think that might be the biggest.
Yeah, and I will say that I think we have an industry that where success is found in the grind.
Mhm.
And I think that's one problem if you do the work-life balance is you kinda avoid
The
the
grind.
grind.
Yeah.
And I think in doing that, you also avoid, uh, big success.
Yeah.
You can be successful, but big impact, big success can't be found without the grind,
Yeah.
as it goes. And so I think that's one of the things that's interesting. Generationally, one of those things that's interesting to watch. Um, but, those I actually feel like your generation's really relational. I feel like you guys
Socially.
want partners.
Socially.
Well, I think you guys want to do things with partners, not alone.
Yeah.
So I think when given the option, you'll always want another guy there. Whereas when we did it, we just kind of rolled out. You go down, you go in trailers, you go out into
Yeah.
GCs. You were always alone, kind of working, and that was fine. That's how you wanted it. I think you guys like to have a partner
Well, I think that plays
there.
into my next point of the difference in generations is my generation likes to be comfortable,
Hmm.
and it's uncomfy to go into a trailer alone and do a cold call sale with a 60-year-old veteran construction worker.
Hmm.
It's a lot more comfortable to go in there with your buddy to help back you up if you need it or something like that.
Hmm.
And I think it applies across all of the life of people my age, which is we like to be comfortable. And some people, not all people, are afraid of getting uncomfortable. And so that's like the grind. The grind's
Hmm.
not comfortable.
Right.
Grinding to build your career is not comfy. And so a lot of people would say, "Oh, okay, I'll stay comfortable and have a decently successful career instead of a massively successful."
I actually think that's probably you've probably hit the two words I like most when it comes to success, which is you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and you got to be grinding.
Yeah.
I think those are the two keys to success, and especially in our industry where we are. I kind of also feel like, and from a sports perspective, that's always what made you great at sports, right? Is the
Yeah.
ability to grind and to make yourself uncomfortable, whether that be, for us in track, whether that be running and saying, hey, you know what, I've just got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable all day.
That's the whole sport of
Right.
track.
Right. Yeah, it's the entire sport.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's why it correlates so well. Both those terms to me are huge in terms of growth and where you are.
Yeah. And and we've talked a lot about it, but I think that's why the modern day hiring athletes is becoming bigger than ever
Uh huh.
because you can hire someone that's spent their whole childhood being comfortable being uncomfy, or you can hire this other guy that partied in college and likes to be comfortable with his buddies. Which one's gonna grind more?
Yeah. Well, the other side is I would say this, talk about hiring athletes. I love the athletic side of people when they lose a bid and we lose more than we win by far,
Yep.
4-1,
Yep.
um, the response can't be downtrodden, "Oh, woe is me.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? The economy is bad. I don't know. Well, no." This response has gotta be more grind, more fire.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
need to fix this problem? I need more grind.
Yeah, a little bit
You
of
know?
anger, a little bit
Right.
of yeah.
It's gotta be some anger, it's gotta be some frustration, it's gotta be that fire and passion,
Yeah.
which then generates the desire for more
Yeah,
grind.
it's that competitive
And
spirit.
I think that's what you see in athletes. You see, like that whole baseball mentality. I struck out 3 times today, so I'm gonna go hit the cage for 3 hours.
Right.
That's what we do. You lose a job and you think you really should have won it. Well, I'll go find 5 more,
Right.
and I'll fix that problem over
Right.
there.
Right.
So I think you're right on both those things, and I think that is generationally, it's hard for us because it's really hard to manage urgency and grind into someone,
Yeah.
which kind of goes back to that hiring athletes helps because you're not having to go say, let me tell you what urgency and grind look like.
Yeah.
It's already kind of an internal trait
W
that's there.
what have been your biggest struggles coming up the way you did in business, managing someone like me coming up the way I did? I guess better way to put it,
I don't know that I
how
have
did
a lot of struggles. When I came in under a different generation
Mhm.
with George and Mike, and George just kind of handed me a set of drawings and put me at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
I was in a metal folding chair at the kitchen table, and I just started taking off drawings.
Yep.
And I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what I was looking at, and they said, "You'll figure it out."
Right.
And I just sat with a set of drawings for, I don't know, 2 days.
Right.
And I remember even to the extent where, I mean, I get embarrassed even thinking about it now, but getting on the phone with Brassfield and Gorey, looking at drawings, and they were saying words like soffit and fascia.
Yeah.
I had no idea what they were.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, I don't know what that is yet because I'd only been in the office a week and I'm
Right.
on these phone calls. And so, I think the 2 things about it was kind of a more hardcore, you better figure it out, sink or swim mentality.
Yep.
The flip side of that is, Mike Kennedy was in the office and he was more than happy to show you how to swim.
Yes.
And so I think at some level it was a more hardcore sink or swim. And there was this kind of, you kind of had this, um, flippant idea that, hey man, they don't really care if I sink or swim. The fact
Yeah.
side of it is you always had your lifeguard sitting there,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but the lifeguard wasn't there saying, "Hey, can I help you out?" You know, it was, "Hey, Mike, can I borrow 10 minutes of your time? I kind of got this problem." And then you would do it. And so there were times where, I would be in Mike's office, oh, I don't know, 200 times a day. I would feel
Yeah.
terrible. I'd be like, "My God," back then we carried paper. I'd have my big set of drawings. I'd be like, "Hey, Mike, can I borrow you again?
Right.
What is this?" And most times I would unroll it and look at it and he'd be like, "That's a wall."
Yeah,
It sounds
yeah,
very
yeah.
simple, but Mike was always there and willing to be the lifeguard to keep me swimming.
Right.
The flip side of that is I sat in that kitchen for untold hours just trying to figure out what these lines meant, what a cut section was, how it went all through, and it was sink or swim. And you know, I think you guys when you came in were able to use computers. You
Mhm.
got video help.
Yeah.
You got training programs a little bit to help.
Yeah.
And there's a certain reluctance to just say, you know what, I gotta stay till midnight till I figure this out.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a reluctance for someone to be like, "I've gotta figure this out," 'cause, so many people are just like, I can't figure this out. Can you come do it for me?"
Yes.
Or and then it's on the other person that does it for 'em. I'm shocked at the amount of people that, will ask me, "Can you do this for me?"
Yeah.
And then for me just to be like, "Oh, yeah. I do it all the time. It would take me 5 seconds." Not to be like, "No, go do it yourself and
Yeah.
learn."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I think we've had a couple guys come in, and we show them some basics and they hit YouTube and they hit,
yeah,
ask questions and they learn to do what we do relatively quickly.
yeah,
You have other guys that come in and 6 months, 8 months, a year later,
they're still struggling.
they're still struggling with it, but they don't commit to it daily.
Yeah,
And I do think the daily commitment, especially, I will say this is a little different. When we came through with paper, you might could walk away from your paper drawings and come back to them 2 or 3 days later, that color pencil still worked the same.
Right.
You walk away from those computer programs, you come back to it a week later, now you got all these buttons everywhere around,
Yeah.
and you almost can't use it if you take off too much time because the functionality doesn't work
It
the same.
changes. Yeah, and
So
just as simple as if you close your computer the wrong way, you might lose your takeoff.
yeah,
You're not gonna erase the colored pencils. You could erase your whole file.
right, right. So to me, it's a little different. It's a lot harder in terms of the way we used to is a lot harder to learn. Now it's a lot harder to learn the softwares and keep that in your memory how to work it,
Yeah,
especially as an older person.
yeah,
I mean, if I take off software too long, it's not that I can't really remember, it is gone.
yeah,
I mean, it is crazy how fast my brain for technology
yeah.
disappears. So I think that's really different. I think also there's a lot of when you hold someone accountable with your generation, there is a lot of, well, y'all didn't train me.
Right.
Well, if I had known, that kind of,
Yeah.
I always call it the George Costanza stuff. If this hasn't been clear at all, then I would have behaved
Right.
differently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we're kind of like, how is that not clear?
Yeah.
Like I don't, and so
I feel like there could be a lot of frustration between the 2 generations, not just within our company, but just in general in
mhm,
construction, where you got someone that doesn't understand the other's point of view on both sides, and there could just be a lot of frustration in communication.
completely different perspectives.
Yeah.
It's completely different perspectives. And so I think it's one thing construction's seeing in general, which is you have that student perspective trying to run jobs versus the old concrete foreman, framing foreman
Yep.
running a job.
Yep.
And so a lot of times you have guys now that sit there and they read submittals all day. They read emails and plans and they write emails and they
Yep.
write plans and
Yep.
all. And so you end up with these email battles building buildings versus some dude out there who says, "No, no, no, let me tell you the code says how you're gonna do it and how it's supposed to be done." And you have a real conversation about how to build something versus a 19 email chain of what it says and why they demand you do
Yeah.
what is not needed and or doesn't even work in that situation.
Yeah. And as
So I
good as
think
I
we see
think the
that.
email is for getting things done quickly, I think the email chain leaves room for grudges to be held because they can go back and look at the receipts on, "Oh, what did he say? What did I say?" Oh, and then building yourself back up constantly about it. Whereas if you're just on site arguing about something, you're probably gonna leave the site, still be that guy's friend, come back the next day and have a completely different outlook on it.
You would say it completely different in person too.
Yeah.
It's too easy to throw in zingers with emails.
Yes.
It's too easy to hide behind the screen in
Yeah.
emails, and so, yeah, I think the emails makes a problem. Bill Bowman, a couple years ago, when I think he retired from Doster or was about to retire from Doster, won an award at one of the associations, and he gave one of the best speeches. I wish they recorded and put it back out on the line,
Mhm.
uh, where he literally says, telling young project managers and young construction people, quit emailing, pick up your phone,
Yeah.
come see me. I can't remember the 100% of the speech, but I just remember him getting to the end of the speech and being like, "That's it. That's how we should all be behaving." Not and that this was years ago before even you had all the huge texting and all the other stuff
Yeah.
going in. Now there's so many inputs and so many chains and
Well, and I think the text culture has ruined people's ability just to communicate over verbal communication, whether it be in person or over the phone.
mhm.
I'm shocked at the amount of people that I'm like, "Why don't you just call them?" They're like, "Oh, no. I'm gonna go on the online support."
I'm surprised at how often when we're on job sites, a big issue comes up and someone says, "Oh, yeah, yeah, we emailed you."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Well, I get an email, but did you call?" Like, if it's
Yeah.
really
"Did you
important,
check
don't you
in and see if
call?
I got it?"
And I do think that's generational.
Yeah.
I think our generation calls on everything,
Mhm.
maybe even too much so compared
Mhm.
to what your generation wants.
Mhm.
Whereas I think y'all's generation is like, "Yeah, yeah, I emailed it," or "I texted them."
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how many times? Like,
"Please see my email from 4/7."
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like one email does not constitute, "I really need something done."
Yeah.
And I think that's generational too.
Yeah, I was dealing with that yesterday. Someone emailed us, and we obviously missed it. It was in a huge pile of emails.
Yeah,
They're like, "This was due a month ago." They're like, "Okay, well, I never got one phone call saying, 'Hey, this is due tomorrow,'
yeah,
or 'I haven't gotten your stuff yet, it's due today.'"
yeah. And some of that is too, uh, especially for a subcontractor, we get so many emails,
Yeah.
especially with some of our trade partners like to send us every email on a job site for every trade.
Yes.
So you might have a job where I'm getting I have some of your jobs that copy me on all the emails where I get 15 or 16 a day
For
on a
just
job that almost has nothing to do with me.
yeah, and
And it
most of the emails don't deal with our scope at all.
That's right. And if we as a company run 400 jobs a year, I literally have some days where I might get 250 or 300 emails.
Yeah.
And that's, and people are like, "Well, how come you didn't see my email?" I said, "Well, between the filter and the 250 or
Yeah.
300 I gotta go through from time to time, there are things that slip through the cracks." That's why I always like, "Well, just call.
I
It's
also
super
think a
important."
fatal flaw of communication is these general contractors assuming that if they send an email out through Procore, that we're gonna read it. A personal email and a Procore email are 2 separate things, and so a lot of times these people will use and Procore is just an example, but they'll use their platform to send out a mass email and then assume that everyone is
Is on
scrolling
that
all the way
platform.
through it and reading it and all that when if they had picked up the phone or even just emailed a personal email, it would have got done a lot better.
Yeah, yeah. I think some of that's generational. I think some of that is just the new technology. I
Yeah,
mean,
the
there
new
are people
technology.
across the board that do that kind of stuff. That is hard. It's hard for us to manage, especially the number of jobs we run in a year. I think last year we ran right up just over 400 jobs. I think
Yeah,
you look at that and you're like, well, that's really hard to keep up with. And
yeah,
that's where project managers really got to play,
yeah.
you know, get on it and be tough with it. So what do you think is happening with the AI world? Speaking of young generation and technology, where do you think that's going to take us?
Uh, to Mars, as Elon Musk would say. AI in construction is getting crazy. I mean,
I don't see
just
that.
as simple as ChatGPT or Claude for general everyday purposes to things like these tracking softwares that are AI based where you fly a drone around a building one time and it tells you what your production rate, footage, all that
Hmm.
was from the day before.
I'm seeing some of that on the front edge, but I would tell you, I was at a seminar um, last year, and they had an AI guy talking. Then he said, "How many companies in here use AI?"
Mhm.
Talking about all construction companies. Just about everybody raised their hand. He said, "Okay, beyond just asking ChatGPT a question,
Yeah,
how many of you have AI embedded into your system?" Well, very few. I think it's like 6% or 7%
right.
actually have AI within their company. But I think that's going to go through the
I
roof
was about to say
over
I
the
would
next
be
couple of years.
interested to hear the updated percentage
Yeah,
because I feel like a year in AI is 10 years in general time.
yeah, no doubt about it.
I
I mean,
mean,
a
the
month.
AI that was out last year to now is completely different.
Yeah.
Up down to, like, now companies take Brassfield, for instance. Brassfield had someone come in and make an AI that can go through all their internal files. So now they have, like, a Chat GPT for Brassfield,
Right.
an
Internal
internal
bot.
GPT.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah. I think everybody's going to be moving to that in general.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, project management by AI is going to get, I think, crazy in the next 2 years for sure.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see because obviously the first wave of it's out with just these generic GPTs and stuff like that of you can ask it to do a function and it'll do it, but I'm interested to see the softwares that come out that are specifically for project management and stuff like that. Procore's on the front edge of it. They've got a bunch of stuff
Hmm.
when I was researching that the other day, but I wanna see the next rendition come out. That's the new Procore.
I also think it's interesting to watch some of these subscription services like Procore as AI comes into play.
Mhm.
Do they go away or do they get cheaper or do they become more important? Because AI is making a lot of what Procore does normalized.
Yeah.
And, all those subscription softwares, they get so expensive as you keep with them.
Adding yeah.
And so, even if you go accounting software, you had your modules to add, you have the project management software with the modules to add, and they all just get so expensive.
Yeah.
AI can make a lot of that stuff now relatively easy and cheap. And so, what happens with that? It's pretty interesting stuff. Um, all right. So you come into the business, you got to make your own spot. Fortunately for you, you kind of learned some of the business over the years, working for us in the summers
Yeah.
and having seen it work and,
Yep.
watching me tap on all the walls as I walked around.
That's right.
So what do you think was your biggest hurdle to get over?
And you talking about industry-wise or, like,
It's just
within the
you
company?
within the company.
Obviously, I think the number one hurdle for any boss's son to get over is the silver spoon
Mhm.
or a
Assumption.
assumption about them.
Mhm.
Everyone's like, "Oh, he's the boss's son. Take it easy on him."
Yeah.
You're like, "No, don't take it easy on me. If anything, be harder on me,
Well,
so that I can get over this silver spoon assumption quicker."
and there's some people that pity you for being the boss's son. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a that
that's
some people are like, "Oh
I
my
don't
god,
see that as
oh
the
my
I see
goodness,
the
you
other
have to
side
deal
of
with
it.
him all the time." I mean, that's part of it too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is one of the hurdles that I think you definitely gotta kinda get over is that initial
the
assumption.
initial assumption.
Yeah.
Um,
And then what's kinda the next hurdle?
I would say it's a twofold. The next hurdle was being put in a management position as a young 20-year-old. You got a bunch of industry veterans
Mhm.
that you're trying to manage, and getting over that age gap, that was a hurdle. Learning how to communicate and tell someone what to do that's significantly older than you, that has a lot more experience than you.
Yeah, and I wanna be careful about that too. That statement makes it sound like you jumped way up the chain is where you are. You came in at an entry level
Right.
management kinda
Entry
gig,
APM, yeah.
kinda as an APM, and then as just a standard project management. So you we certainly have no intention of you jumping into an executive role
No.
or really a higher senior level management role anytime soon as you go. But yes, I think we see that fairly often with young people and even with people in the field that get promotions, which is you've been given the authority to do your job.
Yeah.
Now you got to take it and do it.
And do it in a
For
way
you
to
guys,
where
it's a little different because when you're young and you take that authority and do it, it's a whole different kind of connotation goes, well, oh, yo, look at him trying to be powerful and all
yeah,
versus an older guy in the field. A lot of times they're hesitant to take it and do it because it's just not what they've ever done.
yeah,
But I do think that's one of the challenges in terms of growing in your career.
yeah.
You
And
know,
I think that goes back to the generational, dealing with the 2 different types of generation,
hmm
and communicating between the 2 of 'em. Um, and then I think too, just, we're in a niche industry. Stucco is very niche, and so learning all the technical data that goes with stucco. 'Cause, I mean, even if you were in a building science school in college, you're not gonna be learning the stucco ASTM, the
yeah, yeah.
C926, the 1063, 1861, all those. You're not learning those, and so it's just, hitting the textbooks almost was also challenging because you're trying to grind and do your work as well as do your homework at night to
hmm
learn and become better.
I would say this one thing that I think is missing a lot of times with your generation, which is just the homework,
Yeah.
learning every word in the ASTM,
Mhm.
learning the technical data, learning that seems to be one of the hardest things for guys to do. Not
Yeah.
just walk and be like, "Hey, can you tell me?"
And I
But
think
learn to
that
know it.
doing the homework helped overcome some of the other problems that I was having coming in, which,
Yeah,
if you're if you're studied up and you can spout off the ASTM, it helps a veteran respect what you're saying a little bit more. So you
absolutely,
can communicate with them a little bit more.
absolutely agree with that
Um,
100%.
and then obviously anytime you're s- doing s- anytime you're spending doing homework or working harder, grinding is going to help get over that silver spoon assumption.
Yeah,
So,
and I do think one of the things bringing you in, the hardest part probably for us, we're a small company, is you bring in the next generation. And at some level in doing that, you displace the people that are already working.
mhm,
Because then when you come in the door, everybody goes, "Oh, well, is he going to take over? What does that mean for me? Where
yeah,
do I go? What's my role look like?"
yeah,
And I think probably that's one of the harder things to deal with was, okay, you got this unknown quantity in the corner. Does he take over tomorrow?
yeah,
Is he going to work his way up? How's he gonna be treated? Where's my place go? What does that do? And I think there's a real displacement issue that goes on with that. And I think there's a funny communication about that displacement because no one wants to walk in and be like, "Hey, your kid's not smart enough to run this business. What are you gonna do?"
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or, "Hey, I don't have enough confidence in your kid to run this business. What are you gonna do?"
yeah,
No one's gonna come say what's on their mind,
yeah,
right? And so part of that is you can cast that vision out there, but there are assumptions made about the guy sitting in the corner office that are not ever verbalized or discussed, and even when the general plan is thrown out there, it's not heard.
yeah.
And so it's like there are alternate realities floating around, and how do you make them all come back together and not hurt your culture, company culture,
Yeah,
and not make people feel disenfranchised or unheard or unseen.
yeah,
And I think that's hard, and it's something that has to be addressed. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job of it. But at the same time, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I see it rear its head in funny ways where I'm like,
yeah,
I should have addressed that better,
yeah.
as we go.
I will say I think you bringing me like, in high school, working as a laborer on jobs and being brought up through Simpson the way I was helped a little bit, but you're never gonna get over the broad, hypothetical assumption sitting in the corner office.
I think people's anxieties run in a non-reality,
Yeah,
right? Your anxiety when you see something like that happens, you run these narratives in your head,
yeah,
and as a business, we have to stop those from
mhm,
running into crazy places, making people make poor decisions based on the non-reality that's happening
yeah,
or assumptions of what will happen in the future. When many times I don't even know what's going to happen in the future because I'm planning and we're scaling a business and we got to grow to meet the new guy coming in the door. And here's what we think is going to happen. But, best made plans never work out,
right,
especially in construction. And so, you're navigating through a maze to this end goal. And there are all these kind of different realities floating around that. And so
yeah,
even though we kind of lay out some um, some blueprints for what's going to happen. Unlike in building where you know where the wall is going to lay out, you might be heading down this wall and then you just can't go forward with what's happening here. And
right,
we have to reset. And then that reset, how many people go, oh, we're not following the plan anymore.
yeah,
This is no good. See? And you're like, no, it's the same plan, but this isn't working. So we have to alter.
yeah, and I feel like that happens in all aspects, not just with me and bringing in the owner's son, but, like, even, with Florida, you bring a superintendent in and you
Yeah.
say, "Hey, here's the plan." Well, then that job falls through and they
Right.
get shipped off somewhere, and they're like, "This isn't what we were told."
Right. Right.
And it's just, managing through that. Florida
Yeah.
region has our big saying recently has been, "It is our job to manage the drama and the emotions and stay even keel,
Uh
because
huh.
once we get emotional and dramatic, we're gonna be going off in all different directions, and we're not gonna be making the best decisions, and we're not gonna be managing correctly."
Yeah. You're so right. Managing the drama and the emotion is not easy. And even like, I mean, in our last meeting, we had, Kevin Breedlove's in here and he was like, a lot of times you make plans, they don't really happen.
Yeah,
And I'm like, that's true
yep,
because our plans are based on certain revenue goals and certain events happening.
certain
And if
things,
those
yeah,
things don't happen in a market, then you might hire a superintendent and say, hey, I think you're going to be in Tampa for a year.
yeah,
And then you turn and go, all right, by the way, Tampa's not happening. You're going to be in Charlotte.
yeah, by the
And
way,
they're like, "What in the world's going on?" And you're like, "Well, we have to manage the work we got
yeah,
here." So that's hard too. So you have a lot of that stuff. You have the industry itself pushing you in directions that you hadn't necessarily planned on, and then you're hiring people,
yep,
and then they all kind of come together. And then in the center of it all, you got the next generation sitting there.
right, yeah, it's
So
a
is it the next
perfect storm.
generation's fault? Is it what's going on?
Yeah,
Listen, when I bought the company in '08. That was, right before the economy crashed. So it's end of October '08 is when I ended up buying the company, and we did not see a commercial uptick for almost 3 years after that.
yeah,
Someone on the internet can give me the exact months, but I wanna say it's 36 months before we saw any growth in the commercial construction market, and we just started, we went from being a relatively decent sized company to tiny,
yeah.
and of course, the sentiment probably was, "Well, look what Richard's already broken the place.
He's already
He's
screwed
already
it up.
ruined it," and so and really in reality, it was just a matter of holding on
Yeah,
until the economy recovered, and there was really nothing we could do. I mean, Mike Kennedy, I say all the time, Mike Kennedy saved me because he worked 1 year with no salary.
yeah,
I worked 2 years with no salary, but we had this, you know, 2010
yeah,
chasm that we couldn't plan for. We didn't know what to do with, and we didn't have to lay anyone off. We maintained everyone but me.
yeah,
And then when I ran out of money, I had to go to Mike and say, "Hey, Mike, I don't know what to tell you. I'm tapped."
yeah,
And Mike literally said, "Don't worry about it," and never said another word again until I paid him.
yeah,
Again, he retired last year, and I said in that party then, if it weren't for Mike Kennedy, we'd have been out of business year 3 when the economy was crashing. But I mean, to his credit, you know, he hung in there and I bid like hell
Yeah.
every morning
Yeah.
and never said a word. And then we recovered and we all, he and I, he got a salary and then I ended up getting a salary and then, so it's all written, but it is, I mean, it really is. That's the culture the company's built on.
Yeah, there's so many variables that go into it,
Yeah. And you can never plan for
and you
that. Like,
can't control them.
I mean, if I sat down and told Mike, "Hey, Mike, I'm gonna buy this company, and in about 18 months, you're not gonna get a salary for a while," you know, it would have ended the planning too.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that's kind of the part that's hard is sometimes you don't want to know what's coming.
Yeah,
The other side of that is it's people's lives, and they want to know where they're going to be and what they're going to do.
yeah, and
So,
it's hard to sell the negative dream. It's a lot easier to, especially for the morale of your region or your company to say, we're gonna hopefully do this."
hmm
You don't wanna say, "Hopefully, we're all gonna go home,"
yeah,
or "You're gonna go to the other side of
right,
the
right.
country," you know?
Well, you got to live in the positive, but you also have to have reality of, hey, there is a downside to our industry.
Yeah,
And, hopefully we're building it enough that we can limit that downsides.
yeah,
Hopefully that's why people want to come work for you is they're like, hey, you guys are going to help us limit the downside here
yeah.
and go forward.
Or if we do hit a downside, you're gonna treat us correctly, and I think that's what you've done so well is whenever we do have a down tick in business, you're so good at taking care of the people within Simpson, whether it be personal or company need,
Yeah.
and so that's why we retain so many people up under you is because 'cause you're so good at dealing with them personally.
Well, thank you for saying that. But B, I think that's been our company culture.
Yeah,
I think, I can go back. I did not know Ed
yeah,
over years ago, but George was always incredibly fair with everybody. And
yeah,
no matter what problem was presented to George, I feel like whether you liked him personally, didn't like him, whether you uh, were scared to walk in the boss's office or not, once you got in there,
right,
you knew what you were getting out was fair,
yeah,
and he was good. And I think that was kind of the family legacy that was left behind when
yeah,
George retired. And I like to think that we've carried it on as a company
yeah,
and take care of our people. And I think at some level, that's why we kept our people.
yeah,
I mean,
I
people
agree.
know that even when we don't have to as a company, we are going to care for them on a
Right,
personal level.
right.
And I say it fairly often, which is eventually I will leave this place, whether it be in a coffin or, in a retirement.
Yeah,
But I would like to think that every single person that came to us with a need felt like they were loved and taken care of
and
by the
yeah,
company.
and I think they do. A lot of small businesses throw the term out like, "Oh, we're very family oriented here. It feels like a family."
Yeah.
I would say we do, and we have people that would back it up in saying that as well.
Yeah.
Not just top down, we're family oriented, but we have bottom up, we're family oriented,
Yeah. Yeah. I
which
would
is
hope so.
great because you know in the hypothetical world, whenever you retire, you're not ever gonna just not come to the office. You're
Yeah.
gonna be here drinking coffee with Rodney
Yeah.
or whoever we've been dealing with for the last 30 years, just because that's your family
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that is part of what makes the family company the family. It's one thing about, I mean, the Simpson name, even though I'm obviously O'Reilly and you are too,
Right,
the Simpson name and legacy is built on that fairness and really the golden rule, the biblical principles we're built on
right.
is what the company culture is built on.
Yeah,
And even though we've grown a lot and our meeting room is full of all new faces.
yeah,
I mean, it's crazy how many new faces are in that meeting room. I think they're all still built on that same culture, that same, you know, you know, Christian base with fairness and kind of
yeah,
love in the background. I hope is what we stay on.
yeah.
So
What is it? It's the ultimate vision. Is that what Tony Robbins calls it? It's just the overall summary, 2-sentence summary of who Simpson is, and I
yeah,
feel like that has not changed throughout the years.
yeah,
Certain planned directions have changed, but
yeah,
how we deal with our people and how we treat our clients and all that kind of stuff has pretty much stayed the course.
yeah. And I hope that's the one thing we capture. And culture obviously changes dramatically as you grow. We've seen culture change.
Mhm.
Woody and I've talked about it a couple of times, which is our culture has changed as a company. But I hope our principals don't,
Yeah.
and that's the hard part is and that's hard that's part of hiring, that's part of functionality, and I think you kinda probably ebb and flow through that stuff where you kind
Right.
of kinda take off that, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, we gotta come back down here." And I think that's probably one of the more interesting things to kinda watch, and bringing you in is kinda part of that too, which is people kinda look and say, "Alright, new guy's in, is
Is he
that"
gonna shake it all up? Is he gonna change
right.
the
Is he
culture?
gonna carry that legacy on, or does it start
Yeah,
ending? Is he
yeah,
part of it, or does he get away with it?
yeah,
Does he get away with stuff that no one else gets away with because he's above the company culture?
yeah,
And I think you've done a good job of buying into the culture, and really the team around you, from your superintendents all the way to people above you, I think have all helped build that culture
yeah,
around you, and you all have done a good job of that. As really all our regions have done a good job of embracing that culture and building around it,
yeah.
I
No,
think,
I think you're right.
as we go. Well, we kind of rambled off generational into just kind of corporate talk in general, but tell me, what do you think? What do you think you see for your team in the next 2 years?
Well, going back to the word grind, our team has grinded in
Y'all
Florida.
have.
We have not stopped. We had a guy go into cardiac arrest, and the day after he got out of the hospital, he was doing sales. And so,
He called me as he left the hospital asking to go to do sales. I was saying, "No, you
yeah, yeah.
can't."
So our team has grinded now for 18 months, and we're finally starting to see the dominoes fall,
Hmm?
which is such a sigh of relief for everyone in the team. And so I think,
You're seeing signs of them falling.
signs of them falling.
Right,
Yeah,
right. We hadn't seen them fall yet.
we've seen a couple fall.
We've seen a little couple fall.
But I think even the signs of them falling has helped the morale
Mhm.
of our team.
Yeah, agreed.
Um, yeah, I think huge things are ahead for us. We're gonna have some growing pains. We're gonna have to learn how to manage a lot of work going at one time.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to learn how to manage a lot of guys going
yeah.
at one time. Because to date we've had, I think our biggest year was 5 projects,
That's right.
and going from 5 small projects to 5 massive projects is gonna be a huge learning
Mhm.
curve. And so I think right now we're just excited.
And nothing is less appreciated than guys grinding and showing nothing,
Yes.
even internally.
Yeah.
I mean, guys can see the work you've done, but until you see the revenue, no one really appreciates it. We
Right.
even kinda had some sideways comments come out today about, "Well, we're just chasing that down there."
Right.
And you're like, "Well, you are just chasing it, but you gotta chase and you gotta
It'd
grind
be a whole
until it
different
becomes
statement when you
reality."
see a lot of stuff coming in.
Right, and so that's a hard growth phase when you're grinding and grinding and grinding, everybody's kinda looking like,
Yeah.
what do you gotta show for it?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Nothing." And it's nothing until all of a sudden it's something.
Yeah.
But that's
The
the
buttermilk's
end.
taking a long time to become butter.
The buttermilk is churning. It's
Yeah.
been churning a while, but it is reality too. I mean, we can't our sales lag is getting longer and longer and longer, not shorter.
And I think that's due to technology, and I think that's due to some of those variables like the economy and developers not
Yeah,
or
I think that's due to politics
it
and war and interest rates and, Trump, Jerome Powell, whatever it is. You can pick your political battles. I think it just has everybody uneasy, but for whatever reason, our sales cycle is getting much longer than it has historically been.
when I think the reason I said technology is, we have a specific developer down in Florida where they have enough money, they don't really care about the project, and they just they knew people were gonna bid it as long as it was on Building Connect. And so
Mhm.
they just kept putting it out for bid. We bid it 10 times.
Mhm.
And then finally they said, "Ah, it's not our budget, we're just not gonna do it."
Right.
And so you plan on this 10 times, and you're like, "Oh, it's gonna go this time," and then they
Yeah.
pull it off the table. That's
Yeah.
part of that planning too, where you're
Yeah.
just like, "Well, I don't know what to do."
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And you put so much time into it. It's funny is the GCs a lot of times don't recognize we're small and we have to be careful with our resources, which includes our time and bidding.
Yeah.
And they kind of let you bid the same thing 8 or 10 times and then ghost you.
Well, and a lot of times they have that pre-con agreement to where they're getting paid for that time, and we're
Right.
not getting
Right.
paid.
And we're not. But what I'm saying is when you grind on a job like that, you grind it 6 or 8 times
Yeah.
and then you get ghosted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a real problem
Yeah.
because you've got all this money to then come back to the company and explain like, "Hey, we spent $50,000 bidding this job and we can't get a return call." Or worse yet, they're blocking my call so they won't even return my call.
Yeah.
Or worse yet, "Hey, I did all the submittals on that job and now they've ghosted me." And
Yes,
you've
that
already
was a
put it on the board as a contract
yeah.
and you go, "Okay, how do I explain this to the team? How do I,
Yes.
which is why we're trying to find really quality contractors to work for and even bid work with.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, we got a group in Mississippi, you bid to them, and we know when we bid to them. You're never gonna get the truth.
Yep.
You're never gonna get an honest answer.
Right.
You're gonna get told you're gonna win all the way up to the last day, and then you get ghosted.
Right, and
And
then
then
you're
2
not
months later, you'll get a call that says, "Oh, that one?
"Hey, buddy."
Oh, yeah." And so that's why it's so important to us in terms of finding good clients and finding good
Yeah,
relationships and good people,
yeah.
that
And
goes
the
with
thing I
it.
always tell them is like, "Man, I lose 80% of the things I bid to you. All I need is your feedback,
Right,
whether it's good or bad.
right.
Just give me some sort of communication. Don't be scared of the uncomfortable conversation to call me and say, 'Hey, you lost this one.'"
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
No words is way worse than a no.
It's one that I think some of that's generational too.
Yeah,
I think y'all's generation struggles to call to deliver the bad news. I
yeah,
think our generation used to call me, "Hey, man, you're out on that one," and
yeah.
you were kinda more friends with the guy. Now look, you call Seth and tell him you lost a job, there's gonna be some whining
Yeah,
involved,
yeah,
and even me, I mean, you call and say you lost a job and we really want a job, there might be some whining involved, but we understand,
yeah,
and that's where that relationship becomes so important. I think, again, that's generational to me.
yep.
There's a lot of that generation where they know you've worked a lot and they know you think you're getting the job,
Yeah.
and they're
And,
not gonna
"Oh,
give it
he
to
might
you,
yell at me."
and instead of saying, "Hey, dude, this one ain't happening," they don't have to hear the negative side, so they
Yeah.
just ghost you.
Yeah.
And I think that's that texting culture
Yeah.
that goes with a lot of
I'm
that
with you.
stuff too.
I'm with you.
Um, alright, what else we got? Anything crazy?
No, I mean, I think we're finally to the point where there's a lot of stuff on the horizon that would actually go.
Yeah,
The phrase I heard it from a general contractor in 2024, "Survive 25, 27 is heaven."
yeah.
And in 2024, I was like, "You're crazy. 25 is gonna be great. 26 is gonna be better." But I think that phrase has become more and more true for everyone
Yeah,
in construction, and I think, 2027 is gonna look a lot different than 2025 or 6.
it's funny you say that. When we heard that, I was with you, and I laughed, and I thought, "That's silly."
What a silly.
And I thought 26 is gonna be the best year
I
ever.
did too.
And yet it's just kind of been a flat, kind of low growth year,
Yeah,
uh, and so it'll be interesting to see where it all goes.
yeah, I'm with you. Hey, guys, thanks for listening to episode 6 with us. If you can, like, comment, subscribe. Anything you do helps the channel keep growing. Thanks.